So we were learning last week the Torah of Akrukta.
Very nice Torah.
Torah Gimel, yes. Yeah, unbelievable. I was getting a lot of chiyus from it. I learned it like 3 or 4 times already with different people throughout the week. It was a very, very amazing Torah. So we'll just give a recap for those that weren't here and always to get into the swing of things. So the Rabbi was speaking about, and in addition, I saw some more nuances inside the words that bring out even more of it, I think. Basic idea what the Rabbi was speaking about was song, nigun. And seemingly it's a nice musish shmuz from your mashgiach. Don't listen to goyish music. It says you listen to music from evil people, from bad people, it's going to hurt your avodas Hashem. If you listen to music from good people, it'll help your avodas Hashem. But if you look at it much more carefully, obviously there's much more than just a dry blanket statement that Rabbi Nachman's giving us. But that's the words that he starts off with. But then as he goes on to explain, we're going to see what a little bit it means. And like we explained over here, he doesn't say, first of all, that the music per se is bad. He says that the person singing the music is a rasha. That's number one. So last week I was saying that the person that's singing the music could be singing a very nice song, but he is something wrong with him, and it's going to come out in a bad way. But over here, looking at it deeper, you see that the Rebbe is not even speaking about maybe even the words. And I was looking it up over here in the Chaim Kramer books that give a lot of background to the Torah and Likutei Moharan. And there's a whole background story to this Torah. And the background story was, to be very bekitzer, that Rabbi Nachman was in a certain town, and when he came there was some sort of shalom zachar, and the people there were kind of on the brink, because he had a lot of misnagdim at that point in his life. There was tekufas that he got persecuted very much, Rabbi Nachman. And so there was people at this shalom zachar on Friday night in this town, and they were having a good time, and the chazan of the town, in those days it was very important for the chazan to come. Every town had like a paid, hired, specific chazan. Nowadays, send up whoever has a nice voice. It was like a chazan. You paid him. He was the chazan of the town, and he was at Shalom Zachar, and he didn't want to speak. He didn't want to sing. Come on. So he said, and it was very apparent that he was on the side against Reb Nachman, and he held he was kind of disrespecting Reb Nachman. So Reb Nachman said some lines about how, if he doesn't want to sing, we'll give him something to sing about. And he said some lines that were very, basically casting a shadow on this guy's kashrus. And it turns out that, to make a long story short, he gave the Torah that Shabbos, this Torah about two birds and singing and all this stuff. And the next week, this guy was caught hanging out with someone else's wife, had to flee the town in embarrassment and all that. So this Torah came out from a chazan who would be sitting there and singing Kadosh, Kadosh, Kadosh. He was singing, the tefillas, and he would be singing in the nigunim of Klal Yisrael. Yet he was such a rasha, the guy, that even singing those holy words with the holy nigunim, damaging. And like we were explaining last week, is what the Rabbi says is that song comes from the place where Nevi'im comes from. What we were trying to say is that Nevi'us is channeling the word of Hashem into this word. It's communicating Hashem's word into this word. What does Hashem say? Nevi'u gives it through, gives it over. And a nigun does the exact same thing. It's just that with words, our conscious mind could say, wow, that doesn't make sense. I don't accept this. You have all your barriers. But with the subconscious mind, with the heart, a nigun goes in and it does something to you. You don't know how, where, what. It moves you. And so the Rabbi Nachman's saying is that if you have nigun from a kosher, and the interesting thing, this is an extra diak that I saw recently, that he doesn't say the opposite of a rasha, I would call a tzaddik. Right? He doesn't say that. He says the guy that's singing could be a rasha. The other end, and that makes it difficult to serve Hashem. The other side is a kosher v'hagun. Kosher v'hagun is like kosher guy. Keeps halacha, he comes to minyan. Okay, kosher guy. Doesn't sound like a big tzaddik. He doesn't sound, when you think about maybe the singers, Sometimes when I used to learn this Torah, I used to like feel terrible that I was listening to this Jewish music, Jewish singers, but like, the guy's such a big tzaddik. Is he really singing for pure motives? Or is he singing because he wants to be famous and he wants to make money? And you have like your thoughts, and I like try to steer away from most Jewish singers and just stay with like Yosef Kaduna and Yosef Kaduna, and that's it. That's it. Like, but the Rebbe says kosher v'hagin. He just has to be a kosher Jew. Why? Because this is what we were learning out last week. Is that it says that kosher, this kosher, this Erlich Hagai draws nigunim from the side of Malchus, that's the Kedusha. Malchus is like bringing Hashem's revelation and strength and power into this world, the side of Kedusha. And the other people, the Rishonim, are drawing it from the other side, from the Acherais, the Klipais. And like we were explaining, the Klipais, it could mean like Klipis, another Musa Shmuz. Don't get involved with the Klipis. Cut your nails and shave your hair. It's too long of a chup is klippas. Okay, so we can get involved in the fun things of klippas. Or you can understand that a klippa is just a shell. It's a shell. It's a shell protecting a fruit. It's valuable. It's valuable when you recognize that it's just a shell. And you need the shell, and then you need to peel the shell and throw it away. So to a klippa, when you recognize that it's just a shell and you throw it away, in the right time, gevaldig, you get to the pri. If you worship the klipa, you peel off the pri and look how shiny it is, beautiful, start eating it and everything, okay, you're a meshugana. But that's what most of the world is running after. Look at the house, look at the status posts, look at all the things on the outside, and we say, this is what it is. It's a klipa, it's a pri, it's a klipa, it's a shell of stuff. It's just an external shell of advertising. It's nothing to do with reality. It's nothing to do with the pneumius. Nothing to do with what's going on inside. So this guy that's just going after that, just going after this Russia, is just going after the klipas, just going after the advertising of the world. So when he sings, he could be singing about holy things, supposedly. He could be singing holy nigunim. All he's feeling, all he's thinking, all he's doing is thinking about klipa. Thinking about women and houses and money and power and greed and everything bad. That's what he's singing about. And so those words go deep into the person's heart. Those messages, those communications go deep into a person's heart without him ever knowing. All of a sudden you're listening to a guy daven in Shul and you're filled with taiva. What's going on? And that's what the guy was singing. That's what you were picking up in your subconscious. So the Rebbe said that to tikkun for this, the way to fix this is through learning Torah Sheba'al Peh at night. Learning Gemara at night. It even speaks about, there was a town where the Rebbe gave over this Torah, and like from that day on, they decided they're making like chaburas of learning Mishnayos and Gemara at night, and they had this chaburas going for many years. But specifically, the Rebbe says to learn Gemara at night. Why? Because nighttime is Gemara, and he says that this will give rise and allow you that any goyish, or what we're really seeing is tumadika music that comes from Russia, will now be metaken. It will be fixed. And the way we were trying to explain it last week was that Torah Sheba'al Peh, on a very, without getting into, learn Gemara at night, and Ein HaMikra Yotzim Midei Pshuta, obviously it means just that. But it also means, Ba'al Peh means, an oral Torah means to speak things out. And that's what the whole Talmud Bavli, which specifically he was talking about, if you learn Yerushalmi, it's like dot, 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 dot. It's like halacha, 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 statement. It's like, okay, learn it, memorize it. The Bavli is like question and answer and proof and going back and forth and back and grinding it and crushing it and going back. It's an ASIC. That's what you're supposed to do at night. Nighttime is darkness, and when you're faced with darkness, which is klipa, which is covering a pri, you want to get to pneumius, you want to get to something deeper. All you see is shells, and you don't know what's going on. Work it through, speak it through. Torah Sheba'al Peh could mean speak it out, speak it through, grind it up. What's going on? What's bothering me? What's going on? Is this really what I want? Why am I chasing after this? Is this thing triggering me? Why is it triggering me all of a sudden that I want this thing? What's going on in my life? Just yesterday, I think I woke up and I was like in a bad mood, and I was like sitting in the car. I had like 13 seconds before I was doing the next carpool. I was like, why are you in such a bad mood? Because I'm tired, because there's shvuas. I was like, no, it's not just tiredness. So what is it? Thought for like 5 seconds, like, because I had my whole entire morning scheduled out from the night before. I had to do this, I had to do that, I'm running and going, and I carved out for myself 35 minutes that I would have for myself, do some exercise, go to the mikveh, amazing. And now, in the morning, my kid's Scheiner calls up and says they have a different schedule. Now this kid's getting up late. All of a sudden, everything's upside down. And now my whole morning is upside down, and I have maybe like 10 minutes for myself. I was like, oh, that's why you're upset. Yeah, you could say you're tired. Yeah, you could blame someone or blame something. Or you could just work it out a little bit. Torah Shabbat Peh, speak it out a little bit, and you'll find a lot of times that you're like, oh, that's what's going on. Something going on. And the second you work it out already, it's already not so much even bothering you anymore. It's like, okay, I got it. You know, they say that exercise, what's the godless of doing exercise, right, is when you rip your muscles. Kipshutai, that's what you do when you exercise. You work out, you're ripping your muscles. So, be'etzem, when you exercise to try to get strong and bigger and healthier, you're not doing anything. The only thing you're doing is destroying. But that destroying, if it's done b'midah v'darga, if it's done in the right way, it destroys, and then your body itself heals itself. That's the whole thing of exercise. That heals itself, and it becomes a little stronger and better and bigger. So you realize that the whole thing is sometimes we just have to break ourselves a little bit, and we don't need to heal. Healing will come. Healing happens. Everything comes back together. You find the reason why you're angry and upset, already things start to get better. You're like, oh, okay. Now I can deal with it a little better. So that's the Torah Shabbat Peh at night. He adds in one Nakuda, he says that when you learn Shaloi Lishma, which he says to be called a Rabbi or any other reason that you're learning Shaloi Lishma, so it's not such a chosh of a limud, but at night, and specifically I think from the context of Breslov, is that this is talking about the second half of the night past Chatzos. When you learn Torah Shabbat Peh, at night, in those hours, chut shel chesed nimshach alav, and it protects you from having any of these damaging thoughts. So now we get up to the Rabbi Bar Chana, which is going to be amazing because see how it all fits in. We're in Torah Gimel and by the Rabbi Bar Chana, how the Rabbi is going to explain this amazing, fantastical story of Rabbi Bar Chana and how it applies to each and every point that he was speaking about. So, to me, I saw an akrukta. So, akrukta is not such a famous word, even though now it's famous from this Torah. Pirish ben Shmuel, so the Rebbe weaves into the Pshat, the Rashbam's Pshatim, the Rashbam's explanations here. The Rashbam says, Tzvardeya, he lets us know what in the world is an akrukta. An akrukta is Tzvardeya, which is a frog. But the Arizal says that Tzvardeya is actually a Tzipardeya, a wise bird, obviously conceptually. But over here, that fits in perfectly with our Torah. The Torah over here before, which you didn't mention in the Chazar, is that this nevius / song comes from these two kosher birds. You either draw from good birds or from bad birds. Birds are the chirpers, they sing, so to speak, and our song comes from those two birds. So he says that Tzipardeya, and what is it giving over? It's giving over song, it's giving over information, communication. So that's the Tzvardeya. Rabbi Chana was saying, I saw these Tzvardeya, these Tzipardeya, these birds. The Haveki Akra, the Hagronya. The Gemara says weiter that it was as large as the city of Hagronya. Masran, Kra Begarin, calling out with your throat. Kra means to call out, Garin is the throat. So it's a pasuk, Kra Begarin, I call out my throat. And that's mamash almost the words, Akra the Hagronya. Song is drawn from these two birds, from this akrukta. The Akra the Hagronya, now these two birds, that song, that brings song, Kamahava, the Gemara says weiter, Shitin Bate, they were 60 houses large. So it's obviously a very large frog. Hainu, Ayadema, Tatakin, Mechinas Kar Begarim. Now, according to how we learned up, Akra Dagranya is the throat. So how do you fix this throat? They shitin bate through 60 houses. Hainu, they shitin masechtais. There's 60 masechtas in the Gemara. And so through the 60 masechtas of the Gemara, learn the Gemara at night, you fix it. Now he's going to weave in Rabbeinu Shmuel, Rashbam, Pirish Rabbeinu Shmuel, Talmudo Kamala. Rabbeinu Shmuel gives like a running commentary who's speaking in the story. Now is the student speaking. But according to the Rebbe, this mom is perfect. Hainu Shigilma Talmud. Right? Gemara is known as Talmud Bavli. So he says that the Talmud Kamala, meaning the 60 cities, which is 60 represented of the 60 Mesachtas, is Talmud Kamala, meaning learn Talmud, learn a Gemara at night. Asatanina Bala. Now, in the story, a serpent, a huge fish of some sort, came and swallowed this frog. Pirish ben Shmuel, Rabbi Kamarla. The Rashbam explains that now the narrative is going back to the Rebbe, meaning Rabbi Baruch Hana is speaking now. So he says, if you look back to the part right before where he was speaking about that if you learn Torah, Rebbe, what does Shalei Lishma mean? It means that you want to just be called a Rebbe, you want to be a chashuv, a guy. So that's Shalei Lishma. So if you're learning Shalei Lishma, this serpent, this evil intention gets swallowed up. So now you had this beautiful Talmud, you had song, the tzipar, the das, all being metaken through learning Talmud, but now he's learning Talmud Shalei Lishma, just to be called a Rebbe. Rabbi Kamer La, like the Rashbam says. So now it's swallowed up. There appears Rabbeinu Shmuel, Rabbi Kamer La. So what happens? Asa pushkansa. So now a pushkansa comes. What in the world is a pushkansa? So the Rabbeinu Shmuel explains, the finished Rabbeinu Shmuel, Oyriv. Kipshuta, it's a raven. Oyriv is a raven. Hainu Yideshi Yilmad Balayla. Mishain Arvis. Oyriv is Lashon of nighttime. Myriv. So he says through learning Torah at night specifically, then you're saved. You're saved from the nachash. Yisiv Bilana. Here's the Marsha. Now the Rebbe is going to weave in the Marsha's pshat. So Bechinas Avraham. Marsha explains that it sat on this tree. What tree are we referring to? So symbolically, Maharsha explains it's Avraham. Shekosvetz Lavita Eshel. Avraham Avinu had a tree. What shaykhs does Avraham have to trees? So he planted an Eshel, which we're taught is Achila Shia Lina, meaning he had a whole inn where he would help people and give them their physical needs, and then he would do kiruv through meeting their physical needs. He would ask them, I didn't give this to you, who gave it to you? And he would try to bring them back to Hashem, which is all an aspect of chesed. Avram is chesed. That fits in what the Rabbi was saying. Hainu shechut shel chesed, the thread of kindness, nimshach alav, that the Gemara in Chagiga says is spread over a person that learns Torah Baal Peh at night. It helps to protect a person from having these ulterior thoughts, these external thoughts when you're learning. Like we were explaining last week, that it's not like a terrible thing, but it's gonna, anytime a person's learning Shalei Lishma, the learning itself is gonna be damaged because he's having all these thoughts. They call the Rebbe for this reason, for that reason. So his learning is just not focused. It's not getting it. I was once in a shiur and we were speaking about the idea, it's brought down in Chazal, anyone who has gaiva, so his chachma goes away from him. So most people understand that God gives punishments. If you're going to be a Baal Gaiva, Hashem says, me and a Baal Gaiva, we don't exist in the same place. You want to be a Baal Gaiva? Here, go ahead. Be a Baal Gaiva. I'm leaving. That's the vindicative God narrative. But when we were learning this, we recognized that Kalam is God. The story came up like this. Guy said, wait a minute. I was in a shul, and we came into daven mincha. There were two guys sitting there, and they were learning. They were involved in a sugya. And we said, we have 10, 15 men. Want to just daven a quick mincha? You mind going in the back, or just moving a little bit? There's tons of space, tons of room. Like, we were here. It's Bittul Torah. We're going to stay learning here. He says, maybe you could just move. This is a shul. No. So he said they sat there and they davened mincha, and as they're doing the whole mincha, these two are screaming. So they're screaming on the top of their lungs. So he was saying, what's going on? So the Rav Moshe Cherkasky, he said, what? And you think when they were learning, they had more than a second that they were actually learning? You think that they were screaming Rashban Rashi, they were actually learning? The whole time they're barely holding cup, enough that they could just make sense of the words that they're saying, but in order to scare you. That's the word of Kalam is Ga, when you have Gaiva, it's not that Hashem's punishing you. You're thinking of yourself, now you're not going to be able to be with me. No, you're thinking about yourself. You're not going to be able to think of Hashem. You only think one thing at one time. So when you're thinking of Shalei Lishma, I want to be a Rebbe, I want to have Chashivus, I want to have Gaiva, I want to have all these things. So you're not learning, because you're not able to learn. The Rebbe says here from the Gemara in Chagiga is that when you do this at night, even with all of these ulterior motives, HaKadosh Baruch Hu spreads a thread of chesed, like the Marsha says over here, Sliki Sibi Ilana, the Ilan is Chesed. That's going to save you that, Pashit, you won't have these thoughts. I mean, anyone that is zeichet to do this, I've only done it a few times in my life, that you like mamish, do like the whole avodah of going to sleep like 6 o'clock at night and waking up at 12 o'clock and just spending the whole night in avodah Hashem. It's like, it's ethereal. Their talk is like an incredible calm and focus and clarity that you get in those hours if you do it, if you're able to do it. It's matov v'manayim. So as he's saying that, you get protected. And the Rebbe ends off the story of Rabbi Baruch Hanai, Rabbi Masmiya Esatzmaim, Shekokach Govar Aleinu Chazli Shafilu Al Zeh Yochel Hagen. He said in the Pashup shot of the story, see how wondrously powerful this tree was. It's able to hold such a big zach. Over here in the symbolic understanding, he's saying that see how incredible is the power of learning at night, that it's able to protect the guy even from all of his thoughts that he wants to be with all of the shells of the world. Nope, he's just going to be able to get to the pri. Now the Rebbe is going to explain the Mishnah in Pirkei Avos from Derech Agav, this week's parak. We're resetting the Pirkei Avos to Parak Aleph L'cher this week, and the Mishnah says like this: Asay l'charav uknei l'chachaver v'avadonis kol adam l'kafschos. Right, and Pashup Shad is make for yourself a Rebbe. Get a Rebbe. It's also important to have friends. Purchase for yourself a friend, which Derech Agav, if you read the Bartanura, it's extremely puzzling. Bartanura says, Knei L'chachaver means kipshutai, buy friends. Throw money at them. You have a good guy, you want to be close to them, you want to go out to fireside, let's go out for dinner. My treat. Like what in the world does that mean? So a couple of years back, I was thinking like, a friend that I have to buy is a friend. What is Bartanura saying? What is the Mishnah saying according to that? So it struck me that anytime something in Chazal is so foreign to us that it doesn't make any sense, it's because our perspectives are totally warped, and really their perspectives are aligned. In it that when we think of friends, we think of a friend as being, it makes me feel good. When I hang out with him, I have a good time. We joke, we get each other, and I feel great. I come out of it like, I had such a great time. That's a friend, buddy. What's up? Chazal thinks of a friend as someone that together you come closer to Kadosh Baruch Hu. And we know that taking is not exactly the path to get to Kadosh Baruch Hu. Kadosh Baruch Hu is the ultimate giver. Giving is the path to come close to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. So what Chazal, I think, is saying over here, Al Pi Pshat and the Bartanura's Pshat, is that if you have a friend, someone that you think needs help, whatever it is that you can give to him, that will purchase for you a friend. Because giving to another makes friends. And that's what a friend really is. You are able to give to another, not just take. So if he needs money, you give to him money, you've purchased for yourself a friend because you've given to him. And he's a friend. If he needs a listening ear and you just spend like an hour just listening to him, so you might not have felt so great and so free and everything, but like, okay, I just like wasted my hour listening to some guy's woes, but you lightened him up and helped him, you just purchased for yourself a friend. Derech Agav, that's a parenthetical statement. So the Mishnah ends off, and you should judge every person favorably. So Al Pi Pshat, there's many pshatim you could say. Rab Nosson has a very, very famous line on the first two things. I think he says, Asay l'charav, try always to have a Rebbe. Knei l'chachaver. Knei is from a lashon of a quill. So he says that if you can't find a Rebbe at this moment, then look into the Svarim and find a sefer that's your Rebbe. Knei is a quill where they wrote down Svarim. Find writings that will be a Rebbe. And that will be a Rebbe until, as Hashem, you find a living Rebbe. It's very important to have a living Rebbe, but for that, there's so many Svarim that you can gain from. Now the Rebbe is going to explain this Mishnah, Al Pi the Torah that we were learning. Ki, that through hearing good song, like we said, from a kasher hagun, from a good person, a person that's trying at least, and that knows that there's something called a klipa and a pri, and he wants to get to the pri. He's really trying to get to the pri. So you're going to hear that inside of you, and it's going to fix your malchus, your power that you have. Your power, the greatest in Kabbalah, malchus is peh. And what we're speaking about here is malchus's power is in your mouth. We have a tremendous power in our words, in it that we can affect and influence things, right? Animals don't have such amazing communication skills. They have some communication skills. I think Scheiner heard the language of the animals, but like because of that, they're very limited. I was just in the zoo a couple of days ago and I seen these monkeys and everything, and some of them are quite impressive. They got hands and they're able to do all sorts of amazing things with their limbs and bodies. And like, I was like, if this guy had a little bit more brains, he'd take over the world. Like, we can't do that stuff. Like, he's like nimble. He's like, all they need are like a little more brains. We'd be like, they're slaves. But they don't. They have like, fused ganglia. They got almost nothing there. And because of that, they're just like, oh. We have the ability, as we're talking Chazal, of communication. That communication is power. It's able to be abused through lashon hara and making fun of people, nivel pad, all the worst things in the world. But it's able to communicate and pull together people and their ideas and bring them together in family and community and friends and jobs and building everything. The whole world is able to be brought together through the communication. So our mouth, our words are extremely powerful. It's malchus, it's power. So he's saying through listening to good nigun, which goes into your heart and fixes your malchus, it brings you to a place where all you want to do is get to the pri. All you want to do is dig a little deeper and get to a deeper place inside of you and spread that deepness and that depth into the world and to all those around you. So then he says, that is Aseh lecha rav. That how do you fix your malchus? How do you make your malchus good? Aseh lecha rav. How do you become a rav? How do you become a rav? How do you become a master over your own power? He says, through acquiring for yourself a friend. Over here, he uses the lashon of kaneh to refer to kaneh, which the kaneh and the veshet are the windpipe and the esophagus. The kaneh is that which produces your voice. Like he said before, yitakan hashis is kinshaba kaneh, that the windpipe has 6 levels, which the Torah Sheba'al Peh fixes it. Shakol yoytze mimenu. That how do you get to fix your malchus is through Nagina that's fixed through, like what he said, listening to Torah Sheba'al Peh, learning Torah Sheba'al Peh at night. That it connects the 2 kruvim. The kruvim were, by the way, they were in the form kind of birds. They looked like angels, young children, but also birds. And when they were doing the will of Hashem, they faced each other like man and wife. They would face each other. This is the birds. And the word of Hashem, actually, Nevuah came through them. So this was when it was metaked. It all happened when it came together like that it produced the Nevuah, and it produced this tikkun of malchus, that you're now in control and have tremendous power. So now the person is fixed all of his malchus. He's mamish drawing and connecting to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that he has this power of now speech. He has this power of nigun. Now with this fixed power of speech, you can rule. Rabbi says powerful Scheiner here. I don't know. I mean, he means kipshuto also. He says you can you can kill that person and give life to that person. I'll take it for face value. They can mamish kill a person, mamish do it. But I'll be the avoid of us, that with your words, you can kill a person, destroy a person. You say one bad word to a person, you destroy his life. So whether it means lashon hara behind his back or just say a nasty word to him, he's destroyed, he's broken, and you could give him life. You could fix a person with a couple of nice words. So when you have the power of speech, this power of malchus, you can do that. So the Rebbe says, so it comes out that if you're not going to take this power and use it for good, if you're going to allow it to kind of flow into wherever you want it to flow, it might be like when Rabbi Shimon came out of the cave the first time, he was burning people up. He was burning people up. He was so halig. How could he burn people up? Because when you're so halig, you just see people doing very regular stuff. It's just like boom, like fire. Like what are you doing? The Rabbi says, that's the next words. Let's call all the kaskos. Make sure that you're judging favorably. Go back into the cave. You have to judge everything favorably. Hashem doesn't want destruction. Hashem doesn't want you now to be so holy that you destroy everyone with your holiness. The world was created to be inhabited by humans. the Lashavas Yitzhara to fill it with inhabitants, with humans. Also Lashavas Yitzhara, like if you learn, have done this Kalam Kaskos Reish Pei Beis, like we were speaking about the other week, that Rabbi says through looking at people in a good light, and now over here speaking it out to them, speaking it out to yourself, looking at yourself in a good light. You can bring people back to tshuva. You can give them life. You have the power now when this nigun is mitaken, that your words have power and you can bring people back to life. So, with that Mishnah, Seilecha Rav, you have Malchus, Kneilecha Chavar, through doing all these things to fix your Malchus, then just make sure that you use it. We'll run through the next few paragraphs. Nowadays, people say that the cantors are kind of fools. They don't have das. Malchus in general is in exile, the holy Malchus. Nevius comes from the same place of Negina, of holiness. Now it's in exile. The song is Pagum. They can't draw it from holiness. Like we said, they can't draw it from the holy side of Malchus. In the future, the future means that Malchus of holiness is going to be brought up. Hashem is going to be king over all earth. Also, song will be brought back up to its knowledge. This is the kapitel we say right before Tkiyah Shofar. Ki melech kol ha'oretz alikim zamru maskil. What Hashem is, the king over everything. The Malchus is going to be brought up. As a Zamru Maskil, what does Zamru Maskil mean? It sounds strange. Sing, wise one. These people that are singing anyways in front of the shul, now all of a sudden they'll have das, because Malchus is going to be brought back up, and they're going to automatically have this das. Shemayim could be representative of the koil, sound, song, words. Like we said, through learning Torah, now you get this chesed drawn over you. It fixes the song. That the chesed of learning Torah at night fixes the shemayim, the koil of Negina. As we said, these two birds that draw nevuah. This comes from Malchus of holiness. Therefore, whenever they had to make a melech, a Jewish king, he had to come through nevuah. All David came from nevuah. It comes from the kruvim, and it came through those two kruvim. Like we said, that all comes from Malchus B'Shat. Before, earlier in the Torah, we said that the other side draws from like the back side of Malchus. It nurses from there. What does this mean? It nurses from behind. David HaMelech was able to fix even song that was coming from these people that are not kosher, and to bring the song back to Kedusha. From the back side of Kedusha, it's coming from the wrong side. It's nourishing from the evil side. Holy song draws from Kedusha, from where Nevios comes from. Comes from the other side, from the back side of Kedusha. He and all of us that grab onto the ways that the Rabbi described over here are learning Torah at night, and specifically in the night, second half of the night, where it mamish has a kushal chesed, even bad intentions will be purified. It raises up the holy Malchus. On the backside, he brought the nursing from the backside. And all of us that are zeicha To do this, we'll draw from the Malchus Gedusha, and what will we draw? We'll draw that even all the songs, which was a hashlam, I think that I came up over Shuas, was that even all the songs, why is it he's saying that you can fix Malchus Negina that comes from the bad side? These guys are singing, they're singing about evil. So how can you fix it? They're singing about evil. The pshat is that, what are they singing about? Singing about klipa. They're singing that all there is in this world is klipa. All there is in this world is the appearances, the bling blang, the power, the prestige. So when you hear that through the Torah Sheba'al Peh, even if you hear those words, what you really hear then, when you break it apart, is that every single person, even the deepest Rasha, all he wants is Hashem. All he wants is Echad, is Achdus. And therefore, when you work through the Torah Sheba'al Peh in your own self, all of those songs and all of those subconscious things that we're singing, oh yeah, all we want is Klipa, you hear that even there, all we really want, and everyone wants, is the Pri. Hashem should help us that we should be zeichet to do all these things, work through ourselves, and be zeichet to hear the Kol Negina, the Malchus, the Kedusha, Shkoyach.